Very good morning, dear students. Welcome back to the class. This video is for class 10, subject science, chapter number 13, magnetic effects of current, and this is lecture number 7. So dear students, in our previous lecture, we have studied about the electromagnetic induction. And today, in this lecture, we are going to study electrical generators. So, after seeing this name, you must be thinking this generates electricity. So yes, it generates electricity. But according to the law of conservation of energy, we know that energy can neither be created nor be destroyed. Then how this instrument, this electrical device, generates electricity? It must have taken the energy in some other form and then it has converted it into electrical energy. So the first thing is that we have to define electric generators. So electric generator is a device to convert the mechanical energy into electrical one. And this can be done in two ways. Either it can generate alternating current or it can generate direct current. So before studying about the electrical generators in detail, first we should know what are alternating current and direct current. So let us know about them. So the first is DC, that is direct current. So direct current is an electric current whose magnitude, because current is having two things, magnitude and the direction. So direct current is that type of electric current which has the magnitude either constant or variable, but the direction of the flow of current in a conductor remains the same. So direct current can have the magnitude varying or it can have the same magnitude throughout the time period, but the direction, that is important, direction of the flow of current in conductor should be same. Then that type of current is known as direct current or DC. So if according to the time or with respect to time I make the direct current cycles, here I have the time and here I have the amplitude of the current. Then according to the definition of direct current, we can have either constant magnitude or it can be varying, but for example, it can be like this, but you can see it here that it is going upward only. So there is no direction change. That means this is also direct current. Here we have the varying magnitude and here we have the constant magnitude. So there is no cycle, or you can say there is no repetition of the cycles as we are having in alternating current. So one term, that is frequency. Frequency is basically the number of cycles completed per unit time or per second. So frequency of direct current is 0. Because it is not completing any cycles in 1 second. So that is why its frequency is 0. If we talk about the sources of DC current, then sources can be dry cell, battery, solar cell or DC generator that we are going to study today. Then second is alternating current. So alternating current is that electrical current whose magnitude changes with time and the direction. Here two things are important, that it should have magnitude and direction. So the must condition is its direction. That it can have the constant magnitude as well, but the direction of the current should change. So AC or alternating current is that type of electric current whose magnitude changes with the time and the direction reverses periodically. And its frequency is 1 by T. T is the time period. Let's say I draw the alternating current with respect to time, and this is magnitude of the current. Then first the current is increasing, then it is decreasing, because here till here it is increasing, then it is decreasing, then again it changes its direction, and this is how alternating current flows. So this is one cycle of it, that first it completes the half cycle, increasing, decreasing, and then in reverse direction it first increases and then decreases. So this is how it completes its one cycle. So the time required to complete its one cycle is known as time period. And the frequency will be 1 by T. That means how many number of cycles the current is completing in 1 second. So generally in India, the frequency of 50 Hertz is used. What does it mean? Because the time is 1 second. And one cycle is having 2 halves. So if it is completing 50 Hertz, or you can say the frequency is 50 Hertz, that means it is completing 50 cycles per second. That means because in one complete cycle it changes its direction twice. That means it changes or reverses its direction 100 times in 1 second. Now which one is better, AC or DC? So let us compare alternating current and direct current. We have alternating current and direct current. So the first thing is the cost of production of AC and DC. So the cost of production is less as compared to DC. It is more. AC is easily convertible into DC using an electrical device known as rectifier. But there is no such method to convert a DC into AC. Then we have third difference, which is AC can be controlled without much loss, whereas DC cannot be controlled. Or you can say if you want to control the direct current, then there will be much loss of energy. If we talk about the transmission, then AC can be transmitted over long distances without much energy loss. And that is why we are having AC current at our homes. Or you see the long wires. So if there is a much loss of energy in transmitting the electrical energy, then from the powerhouse till our houses, the energy would have been lost in the transmission itself. But as AC is having low transmission losses, so AC is transmitted over the long distances without much loss. Whereas in case of DC, we cannot do that. But after having all these advantages, some of the disadvantages of AC are that AC is more dangerous. and it cannot be used for the processes like electrolysis. So for these purpose we use DC. So these were the differences between the AC and DC, or you can say the advantages and disadvantages of AC over DC. So dear students, let us come to the main topic, that is electric generators. So let us begin with the electric generator. So first we have to define it. So the definition of electric generator will be that it is an electric device used to convert mechanical energy, or you can say kinetic energy, into electrical energy. Earlier, with the help of motor, what we have done? We have done the reverse of this, that we were using the electrical energy and it was converting into mechanical energy. So basically the work of generator is to produce electric energy. This electric energy is basically what? Current. So current, just now we have studied that current can be of two types. It can be DC current or direct current, or it can be alternating current. So depending upon the type of current production by the generator, electric generator can be of two types. AC generator or DC generator. So let us first understand the basic concept of the generator, and then we will find out that what is the difference between the AC generator and DC generator. So if we define AC generator, so AC generator converts mechanical energy into the electrical energy, which is in the form of AC current. And the DC generator converts the mechanical energy into the direct current. So this is what the AC generator and DC generator are. So let us first see the basic concept. Let us talk about the generator only. So when we talk about the generator, we have studied that this is the device to convert the kinetic energy, or you can say mechanical energy, into electrical energy. That is the definition. Then the second thing is, what is the principle of this device? So the principle of this device is electromagnetic induction, that we have covered in yesterday's topic. So what is electromagnetic induction? We have studied that when we provide motion or when we apply force on a conductor which is placed in the magnetic field, or what is the basic requirement of electromagnetic induction, that the magnetic field should vary around a conductor. Because what is the basic requirement? The magnetic field variations. Higher the magnetic field variation, higher will be the current produced in the conductor, or you can say induced current will be there. So when we are having a conductor placed in a varying magnetic field, then there is a induced current in that, and that phenomena is known as electromagnetic induction. So what is the basic requirement? I am repeating again, that there should be the variation in the magnetic field. Now how you can say magnetic field variation? Because magnetic field is what? Magnetic field lines. So the number of magnetic field lines passing through the conductor should vary with the time. So this can be done in two ways, that you keep two magnets which will provide you the magnetic field, and you move a conductor in this field. Then what will happen? That the number of magnetic field lines, suppose I have an armature coil as we have done in the motor, in case of a motor. So dear students, this is in the plane of a paper. Then when I rotate this will take another plane, and now the number of magnetic field lines passing through this will be larger. Then again when it rotates, it becomes parallel to the magnetic field lines, and the number of magnetic field lines passing through this armature coil will be less. So this variation causes the induced potential difference in the armature coil, or you can say the conductor, because of which a current is induced in the conductor. So when we were doing it in case of a steady magnetic field and a small conductor, the induced current is also very small. So that is why we are using electrical generators instead of having simple coils in the magnetic field. We are using electrical generators based on the same principle to generate large amount of current so that we can use it in proper applications. So the basic principle of the generators are electromagnetic induction. We have to define electromagnetic induction, that you know very well. Then how this electric generator is going to be constructed. Now let us make the diagram of the electric generator, that how it looks like. Electric generator will need a magnetic field, and in which we will move the conductor. So the first thing that is required is the magnet. So here we have the poles of the magnet only, but you know that this is a very large horseshoe magnet. So these are the two poles of the magnet. Now we know that magnetic field lines will start from north and will go to the south pole. So the magnetic field lines are this side. The second thing is that we have to move a conductor in the varying magnetic field, or you can say the magnetic field is fixed, but when we move a conductor inside a magnetic field, then the number of magnetic field lines passing through the armature coil will change, and that will cause a potential difference in the conductor. So the second is armature coil. So this is our armature coil. How this armature coil is formed? Actually, the armature coil is winding of copper wires, conducting wires on a soft iron core. So we wound up the copper wire on a soft iron core. Larger the number of turns on it, better will be the current. So this is our armature coil. So here we have the soft iron in between, and around which the copper wire is wound. So this is our armature coil. Let's say it is A, B, C, D. Then, so the basic thing is, to generate electric current, we have to do the movement in the armature coil so that the number of magnetic field lines or magnetic flux should vary, which will pass through the armature coil. So we have to rotate it, so there must be a spindle, or you should say axle. So this is our axle. Then we have, in case of the AC generators, the difference comes here. Till now, the construction of the generator in case of AC generator and DC generator will be same. But here, first let us talk about the AC generator. That what will be the case of AC generator? Here, we will have two coaxial slip rings. So we have named them S1 and S2. And along with the S1 and S2, there will be the carbon brushes. Then for what purpose we are using a generator? To generate electricity or to run a particular appliance? So let's say it is a bulb. So here, it is a bulb here, but it can be any electrical appliance that we want to run with the help of generator. So basically it is our load for which the electricity is generated. Now, we have talked about the magnet, armature coil, soft iron core. Yes, what this soft iron core does, or what is the purpose of using a soft iron core to make this armature coil? So the basic purpose of using a soft iron core is that it will attract the magnetic field lines which will go by the side of the armature coil. Because it is having a property that it will attract, because it is very easy to magnetize and demagnetize a soft iron core. So even if the number of magnetic field lines which will go away from the coil or which will pass by the side of the coil, the soft iron will attract them. So what is the use of it? So when it is attracting them, then with the rotation of the armature coil, the number of magnetic field lines passing through the armature coil will increase. And when it will become parallel to the magnetic field, the number of magnetic field lines will be 0. So this big difference, so let's say when it is parallel, the magnetic field lines passing through this is 0. And without using soft iron core, the magnetic field lines are passing through are 5. But when we are using a soft iron core, then this number, because it attracts the magnetic field lines, so it becomes 10. So which one is the bigger difference? 0 to 5 or 0 to 10? So it's obvious 0 to 10. So that is why, because we do not want magnetic field to be very higher or to be very lower. But the basic requirement is that the variation should be large enough. So that is why we are using a soft iron core, so that the magnetic flux variation will be higher, so that large amount of current can be induced in the armature coil. So if we write down the parts, then first is armature coil. So armature coil can be made up of copper wire wound over a soft iron core. What is the purpose of using soft iron core? That I have told you. Second is strong magnetic field, or you can say magnets. for the magnetic field. Third is slip rings. Why I am calling them slip rings? Because just think of the situation that when we are having a armature coil which is having two ends, if I directly join them with the load, let's say I am doing this, that I am directly connecting this with the load. So here I have my bulb. So when these two ends, or you can say when the armature coil will rotate like this, then these two wires, these two connections will get merged up. And this will cause problems. So that is why these slip rings are used. The purpose of the slip rings is to make proper and constant current, or you can say constant contacts between the load and the armature coil. So this is the purpose of using slip rings. Then we have the brushes, as we have used it in electric motors as well. So when the current is flowing in the circuit, or you can say when the armature coil is rotating, then the ends of the armature coil will be always connected to the slip rings S1 and S2. So the current will pass to the slip rings from both the ends of the conductor, and then it will go to the load. So to make the proper contacts, because this we cannot hold it, or we cannot just make a hook to connect these two ends. So that is why carbon brushes are used to make a contact with the slip rings, or to transfer the charge to the load. So the fourth part is brushes, or I should say carbon brushes. So carbon brushes, they maintain the contact between the slip rings and the load. So now you know what is the use of slip rings and the brushes. Now let us understand the working of an AC generator. So what is basically there in the AC generator? We are having the magnets, two poles of the magnets will be there, and this is our armature coil named as A, B, C and D. So let me write the names here. I have not shown you the slip rings, but how it will be that, let me tell you that how the slip rings will look like. Slip rings are, these are the two circles, or you can see that these are two bangles which are used to make you understand these slip rings. So slip ring is basically a type of a conducting wire in the form of a circle to which the armature coil ends are connected, and they are made coaxial. So they can be copper, or they can be of brass, or any conducting material. So what is there? What is the need of this? That we have two slip rings. So these will be the two coaxial. You can see it here that when I place these two slip rings here, then the first, let's say this is S1, this will make the contact, this is S1 and this is S2. So this will make the contact with the arm AB, and this will make the contact between the with the arm CD of the armature coil. Then these are, I'm saying these are two coaxial slip rings. So what do we mean by coaxial slip rings? Because here, earlier here we were having a spindle to rotate it. So here we were having an axle. So that axle will pass through it, and the axle will pass through the slip rings as well. So the axle will be the common one for both the slip rings. Here we are also having a soft iron core. So this is our core. Then here we are having our slip rings. Now why I am using slip rings, you know, let us understand during the working only. So dear students, I cannot hold them like this, so I am just keeping it here, and I am making these slip rings like this. So here I have the two slip rings which will be connected to the arms AB and CD respectively. So here I have S1 and here I have S2. Then because when the arms or when the armature coil is rotating, so this arm CD will be in direct contact when it is rotating in S2. So it will always transfer its charge to S2. Then if we hold, or because here we are having our load, if we connect the load directly to it, then it will create problems, or it will be the messy connections. So that is why, to avoid that problem, what we are doing, we are using the carbon brushes. These are the soft brushes which are not actually holding it like this. They are just touched to it, and when this slip ring is rotating, then it is always making a contact with the slip ring. So the charge transfer will be continuous when we are using the carbon brushes. So let's say it is B1 and B2. So remember, in case of AC generators, the connections, these two connections of slip rings and brushes will never change. S1 will always be connected to brush 1 and S2 will be connected to B2. Now let us understand the working of this. What happens here? That here we are providing the motion to the conductor, that means the armature coil. We are moving the armature coil in the magnetic field. But you must have seen that the generators are just moved once. They are rotated once and they are left. So even then they are continuously rotating, because we have given it the chemical energy, that is diesel. So first the chemical energy is converted into mechanical one, and then armature coil, or you can say the generator, converts that mechanical energy into the electrical energy. So what happens when we are moving this axle, or when we are rotating our arm? So when this arm is rotating, so when it is rotating, sometime it will come like this. So now you can understand that this time the conductor is perpendicular to the magnetic field. So the more number of magnetic field lines will pass through it, then it will rotate like this. Now it becomes parallel to it. Now less number of magnetic field lines are there. So because of this variation, there is a induced potential difference in the armature coil. And how it is going to be done? Or how will calculator find out the direction of the induced current in the AC generator? So that we have studied in case of EMI, that the Fleming's right hand rule will be applied to find the direction of the current. So according to Fleming's right hand rule, what we have? We have to stretch our right hand in such a way that first finger, thumb and central finger are mutually perpendicular to each other. Then if this is the direction of the motion, this is the direction of the field, then this will be the direction of the induced current, which is indicated by the central finger. So we have to apply the Fleming's right hand rule to the AC generator here. So let us see how it is working. So dear students, just pay attention that when I am moving the armature coil up, or when I am rotating the shaft in this manner, then this arm is coming up and this arm is going down. So when this is moving up, first we'll try to find out the direction of the current in this. That if we apply the Fleming's right hand rule to this, then we know that this is the direction of the magnetic field here and the motion is upward. So let us apply the Fleming's right hand rule. So if we apply the right hand rule at the arm AB, what is the direction of the current? That when the motion is upward, magnetic field is from north to south, because here we are having the north pole, towards this end we are having the south pole. So magnetic field will go from north to south. So this is the direction of the magnetic field. So I have placed my first finger and thumb in the direction of the magnetic field and the motion of the armature coil. So my central finger should indicate the direction of the induced current. That means in arm AB, the induced current will be in this direction. Similarly, because this is going downwards, so when I apply the left hand rule here, then it will somehow look like this, or I should say that if I apply the right hand rule here, because it is moving downward and the magnetic field direction is this, then the central finger should show the direction of the induced current. So it is telling us that induced current direction will be this. So how is the current flowing in the circuit? It is coming here, then it is going to the slip ring. When it is rotating, remember it will always be in touch with the S2, that is slip ring 2. Then slip ring 2 is transferring the charge to the B2 and it is going to the load, and this way it is coming to B1, passing through S1 and then going to arm AB. So this is how a closed loop is formed. This is now a closed circuit in which the current is induced. So this bulb will glow. Now, because till this situation, because when it is rotating, sometime it will come in this situation. Till now this arm is coming up and this arm was going down. But just after this, it is going downward and that arm is coming upward. So what will happen? The direction of the current will be reversed after the first half revolution of the armature coil. So now this arm, which was CD, is having a current flow in this direction, which is connected to S2, remember, and this is having a current direction which is arm A, B. So now the current is flowing. First it is coming to S1, going to B1, then load, then B2, S2, and then it is passing to the CD. So this is how an AC generator works, that after the half revolution, the direction of the current is reversed. First it was flowing from A, B, C, D, and now it is flowing from C, D, B, A. Then the current generated in the AC generator will be in this way. First it will increase, then it will reach to its maximum point, then it will reverse its direction. So this is the first half. Then again it will rotate. So it will exert the upward force. It will come till here, till it is coming up. So this is this situation. This. Then again this will exert a downward force because we are moving it with the help of chemical energy, and this arm will exert a force upward. So now it again becomes the same situation and we are getting a current in this manner. So this is how the direction of the current is reversed. But remember, the S1, B1 and S2, B2 contacts will never change. S1 will always be connected with B1, and S2 will be connected to B2. So the process is repeated after this revolution. So at every half rotation, the direction of the current is reversed. Now let us see the DC generator. So dear students, there is nothing more difference in AC generator and DC generator except we are having the magnet, we are having the armature coil, which is having a soft iron core in between. We are having the two ends of the coil, AB, CD. So we are having this. Magnetic field is still same. We are still having an axle in which we will rotate it like this, the same manner. But here what is the difference? Slip ring is the difference. Here, instead of using the coaxial slip rings, we are using split rings. Now what is the split ring? That earlier we were having the two copper coils which were continuously in contact with the same arms. But here we are having a copper ring which is cut in between and it is converted into two halves. These should be equal, but this is converted into two halves. What will happen here? That here we are having our split ring 1 and here we'll be having the split ring 2. So it is, let's say, R1 and this is R2. So here we are having the carbon brush B1. Here we are having the carbon brush B2 and here we are having our load. Now what is the working of this, or what is the use of this? That when this armature coil is rotating, then it comes to this situation. That means the AB arm which is connected to R1 is moving. So when it comes here, the situation, the R1 will be like this, half rotation, but still it is in contact with brush B1. And similarly, B2 will be somewhere here, but still in contact with brush B2. But as soon as the half revolution is taken, what will happen? This R2 will come up here. So now the situation of R2 will be this with the brush B1. And this R1, after rotating, it will come here. And R1 will be contacted in brush B2. So this is what? That here, again, because of the use of slip rings, the direction of the current is not reversed. Because earlier, R1 was in the contact of B1, but still it was giving the, like, if we apply the rule here, the right hand rule here, then the current was flowing like this. So in all the way, the current will be induced in this manner, and this will form a closed circuit. So R1 will be contact with the arm AB, but it will lose its contact with B1 and it will make the contact with the R2. This brush B1 will make the contact with R2, but still the direction of the current will not get reversed. So that is why this will provide us the current in this way. Either the magnitude will be same or it will be in the form of or it can be in the form of or it can be a constant magnitude as well. So this is the difference between the AC and DC generator. So basically the difference comes at the slip rings and split rings, where the in case of split rings, or you can say the DC generator, the split rings are changing the contact between the brushes, and in case of AC generators the contacts are not changed and the directions are reversed. So dear students, these were the two types of generators. Now let us see the homework quickly. So your today's homework is state the principle of an electric generator. That is question number 1. Question number 2 for you is name some sources of direct current. Question number 3 is which sources produce alternating current. Question number 4 is choose the correct option. A rectangular coil of copper wire is rotated in the magnetic field. The direction of the induced current changes once in each 2 revolution, 1 revolution, half revolution or 1/4 revolution. So this is the homework for you for today's lecture. Now let us see the homework solutions of the previous lecture. So dear students, in your previous lecture we were having 2 questions. The first question was explain different ways to induce current in a coil. So while having the lecture, we have studied that to induce the current in a coil, what we have to do, we can do 2 things. One is by moving a bar magnet towards a coil or away from the coil, we can induce the current in them, which was done in the first activity, that is 13.8, and then in the second activity, that is 13.9, we have done that we can place a current carrying coil near the closed coil which is not having current, and we can induce the current in that way also. So by placing a closed coil near another coil connecting across a battery, we can also induce the current. Second question was state the Fleming's right hand rule. So Fleming's right hand rule, you have to state it in this way, that we have to stretch our thumb, first finger and the central finger in this way that they are mutually perpendicular to each other. When the thumb is pointing in the direction of the motion, then first finger is indicating the direction of the magnetic field. If so, then our central finger will indicate the direction of the induced current. So this is what the answer of the statement of the Fleming's right hand rule. So dear students, we'll continue in this chapter with the domestic circuits in next lecture. Till then, take care and goodbye.